You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later God cut you down, sooner or later God cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go tell.
Hey up everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros. And these are shoes that I bought with my own money, and that means I get to say whatever I like about these shoes. But while we're on the subject of money, these shoes cost me £66.15 delivered to my door. That is absolutely incredible value for money. That works out about $88 US. If you're new to the channel and not seen one of my reviews before, I'll wear a pair of shoes for a whole week of training, and that covers the easy runs, it covers the intervals, it covers the long run, it covers everything. And doing it that way, I get to make my own mind up on what I like about a shoe and what I don't like about a shoe, and how I'm going to use that shoe moving forward. So before I show you all that footage, let's just go through a few stats and features. So the heel, it's a really solid heel counter. That gives a really, on these shoes, I was really impressed by the lockdown. There's no heel slip. I did use the runner's knot, but I always do. If ever there's the hole in the shoe so I can use the runner's knot, I'll always use it, because I don't see the point of trying to get away without using it. I don't see the point of getting 10 minutes down the road and having to stop and redo my shoelaces. So if the hole's there, it gets the runner's knot, job done. Next thing to mention, which really impressed me on this, was the actual insole. It's a really comfortable, thick, plush insole, but that insole's been infused with an antibacterial tea tree. What a brilliant idea. I've had these shoes on for a whole week, every single day of running, covered nearly 100 kilometers, and they still smell brand new and fresh. What a brilliant idea. I'm really impressed with that. So, next thing to mention, the tongue. Let's see if we can zoom in and get that. It's a fully gusseted tongue. On both sides, it's stitched in right down the bottom there. If I just move that out of the way, you can see that. But I do have something to mention about it, because where the little slot where your laces goes on the tongue, whoever put the laces in at the factory had used the ones from lower down the lace loops and lifted them up and higher, so that when I was running, it was actually pulling the tongue down. No drama, because as soon as I saw what had happened, I just relaced the shoes and they were perfect. But it'd be interesting to know if anybody else has had a similar thing with these shoes. Next thing to mention, the outsole, and this is a really important part of these shoes. So these shoes are marketed to last 2000km, which is why they gave them the name the 2000km version 5 Pros. What I wanted to see on these shoes was absolutely zero wear on the outsole after 1 week of running, because if there started to be any wear and tear at all, then that obviously means that there's no chance that a shoe is going to last 2000km. But if I zoom right in, well, first and foremost, let me just show you these two bits first. So you can see there, it looks darker, and there, that looks darker. That's because the rubber is actually thicker in those high wear areas. But zooming right in, you can see, and it's just short of 100 kilometers on these, that the outsole on these is absolutely brand new. There's no signs of any wear and tear anywhere. I'll just get the other shoe for you to see. So again, right at the front where you toe off, both sides there, all good. Not an issue, perfect outsole. So that's a win straight away. Next thing to mention, I've got to mention is the weight. Both shoes were identical in weight, which is really rare. Both of them were 222 grams. The sizes, I am a European size 42. I've used the European sizes for a long time now, because UK sizing is just not consistent at all. Where I've bought a size 7.5 in a Nike, I've had to upsize to an 8 in an Adidas, because there's just no consistency. So sticking to European sizing have been really good for me, but now I'm buying from the Chinese market. I've been told about this. It wasn't something I discovered myself. On your label, and this is on all shoes, whether it's a Western brand like Adidas or Nike or Saucony or whoever, there's a CN measurement. That's the Chinese measurement in millimeters. Super accurate. When I go look at a shoe size to buy from the internet, first of all, I look at the European size, make sure it's 42, and then I look at the size comparison, make sure it says 265, because that is my foot measurements that I need, 265 millimeters. And since I've been doing that, each and every purchase has been absolutely perfect, lengthwise and widthwise. So far, it's been bomb-proof, it's been brilliant. So next thing to mention after that, I've got to say, is the midsole itself. It's a beaded PEBA midsole, supercritical PEBA as well. The stack height is where we get a bit confusing, because manufacturers state we've got 32 on the heel and 27 on the forefoot, giving a 5mm heel to toe drop. But wearing this shoe, it doesn't feel like that at all. This feels to me a full 40mm stack. And I'm not the only one that thinks that, because I've done a bit of research, and there's another reviewer, chap. His channel's called Run R. I'll put his picture there, and I'll put his link in the description. So he's actually measured these, and he's actually found out that the heel is coming in at 39mm, and the forefoot is coming in at 34mm, giving a 5mm heel to toe drop. Where the discrepancy comes from is the manufacturers have measured the midsole, not including the outsole or the insole. So that's the difference in millimeters there. So that's my brief explanation of what's going on with the shoe. Let's jump across now to the week's training and see how it got on. Hey up everybody, welcome to Monday, and this is the first wear of the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros. And the whole focus of today's run is to find out for me what's the most important thing, which is comfort and fit. Because if a shoe's not comfortable and if it doesn't fit me, then that shoe's useless. Regardless of what shoe that is, it's no good if it doesn't fit me. And I'm a size 42, European 42, which is the 265 in the Chinese millimeters. That's what I ordered, that's what I delivered, and it's fitting me just fine. The actual length and the width of the shoe is exactly what I hoped it would be, so I'm going to say these are fitting me true to size. I do have the sideways thumb width between the end of my longest toe and the end of the shoe. That is something that I always have, just to stop my nails from being taken off when I'm running. I believe that any runner should have that gap there. Anybody that has really tight fitting shoes and then wonder why you're losing all your toenails, there's your answer, because your shoes are too small. So fit wise, they're good, true to size. How they're actually feeling, it's only an easy run. I'll be putting them through the paces tomorrow with a sub-threshold run, but the midsole, I can feel the compression. I can feel it absorbing the lumps and bumps as I'm running over them, but it's also got a bit of life to it. I can feel a bit of zing there, a bit of fun, let's call it, and they're enjoyable for an easy day shoe. I'm enjoying wearing these, and like I said, I've probably got about 9 kilometers on them now, so we've got the rest of the week to do a really deep dive into them. But for now, they get the thumbs up because they're comfortable and they're fit. So until tomorrow's sub-threshold session, I'll see you. Hey up everybody, I've just finished my Tuesday morning interval session wearing the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros, and here's my thoughts about them while it's still fresh in my mind. And first of all, performance. They did really well today. I started the session not feeling my best. I was tired, and it was just one of those sessions I thought wasn't going to go well. As it turns out, it did go well. The shoes felt really lively. They've got a good rebound to the midsole. You can feel there's a good wedge underneath your forefoot, and I enjoyed running at a quick pace in them. What did stand out over and above everything else though was the actual grip that they've got, because as you can see on the floor, we've had some rain, and when you have rain after a long dry spell, the floor's really greasy and slippy. And today the grip on these shoes was absolutely first class, so full marks for the outsole on that. But that's my thoughts for today. Tomorrow's 60 minutes easy, so until then, I'll see thee. Hi up everybody, it's Wednesday morning. I've just finished my 60 minutes easy run, and I'm going to give you my thoughts about the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros while they're still fresh in my mind. And I thought today, I know everybody likes a comparison, so I'm going to give you a comparison of what the actual midsole feels like and shoes that to me feel pretty similar. And the one shoe that everybody has got a feel of, because it's a very popular shoe, is the Evo SL. And the midsole on this is very similar to the Light Stripe Pro that's used on that, except for this midsole is just a little bit firmer. It does feel a little bit more responsive, which makes it good for doing your easy and steady runs, but that little bit of firmness takes a little bit away, so that I probably won't be using these for those recovery runs when I'm feeling quite battered. Another shoe that I compare it against would be the Saucony Speed Series. Again, similar kind of feel. With both shoes, I'd say that these Xtep actually feel as if they've got a little bit more midsole underneath the forefoot. I do feel as if there's more underneath me, and that is surprising, because when you look on the manufacturer's specifications, they are, I think it's low 30 millimeters is what they specify, which it's got to be wrong. There's no way that can be true. I've got a load of shoes that are the full 40 mil max stack, and these feel just the same. So I haven't got anything to measure them with. I'll have to see if I can dig something out from work. But I'm pretty sure that if these are not the 40 mil, then they're very, very, very close to it, maybe 38.5, 39 millimeters. But that's just my personal opinion of how they feel. If anybody has got any accurate measurements, I'd be really interested to hear them. I certainly don't trust the manufacturer's ones. But that's it for now. I've got to get going. So until tomorrow, and it's a session day, we're going to give them some work to do tomorrow, these shoes. Until then, I'll see thee. Hey up everybody, it's Thursday morning. I've just finished my interval session wearing the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros, and I'm going to give you my thoughts about them while it's still fresh in my mind. And we're standing underneath a tree because the weather today is absolutely dreadful. I've done this session today in driving winds, lots of rain. The grip on these shoes have been absolutely first class. They're not a top tier speed shoe, they are a daily shoe. It was a high intensity sub-threshold run today, and admittedly shoes like the Fedian 5 Challengers would have been a better choice, but they did well, they did me good. I'm not displeased with them, but moving forward for my future rotation, I'm going to keep these in my rotation, but these are my daily drivers. I'm going to keep these away from the higher intensity stuff. So that's my thoughts for today. Tomorrow's a 60 minutes easy, and then Saturday we've got an absolute full send in these at Parkrun. So let's see how that goes. But until tomorrow, I'll see thee. Hey up everybody, welcome to Friday, and it's day 5 of my review of the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros. And I'm giving you my thoughts now while they're still fresh in my mind, and being honest, it's pretty much the same as what I've been thinking all week. These shoes are just really, really good daily drivers. Very similar kind kind of performance, kind of similar feel as well to the Adidas Evo SL, the Saucony Speed, that kind of thing. It's not fireworks, it's not super race feeling, it's just something you can put on your feet, and it's just super reliable. You know where you are. They're a really good shoe to wear for those everyday miles, as simple as that. The outsole is fantastic. The ground is wet. We've had some rain after a heat wave dry spell, and you all know that the ground gets really greasy when that happens, and there's been no foot slip at all on these. The grip on these is absolutely amazing. Midsole feel wise, again, it's just like the Light Strike Pro, maybe a touch firmer, but it feels responsive, but it's not too hard of a ride. And that's basically these shoes in a nutshell. They're very, very good. They're not an all-out race shoe, but I'm certainly glad that I bought them, and they're going to stay in my rotation. So that's it for now. We'll give them a good old blast tomorrow at Parkrun. So until then, I'll see thee. Well, that's the Parkrun done, and I'm giving you my thoughts about the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros while they're still fresh in my mind. And as you can probably see and hear, it's really windy today. I really wanted to put a good rapid time in wearing these shoes, but as it was, all I could do was put a good hard effort in, because the headwind's absolutely biblical. But successful test, really enjoyed the shoes. Every single cone, we've got 3 cones where we've got to go round, and the floor's wet and slippy, and I did the Japanese turn in each and every one on purpose, just so I can test the grip out on these, and the grip is absolutely first class. I can't think of any shoes that I own that are as grippy as these. Comfort wise, no problem. The midsole feels nice and responsive. It's not fireworks, they're not super explosive race shoes, they're just a really good everyday shoe. So that's it for now. Tomorrow we've got a long run. We're going to have them on his feet for quite a long time and see what they feel like over time. So until then, I'll see thee. Hey up everybody, welcome to Sunday, and I've just finished my 90-minute long run wearing the Xtep 2000km version 5 Pros, and I'm going to give you my thoughts about these shoes while they're still fresh in my mind. And I can tell you for definite that these are a lovely, comfortable shoe for wearing on those longer runs. I've had no hot spots, no rubs, no uncomfortableness. The midsole has been an absolute delight for this long run. It's just an easy pace, but it's been, how can I say, it's been responsive enough just to make it a little bit of fun as well, if that makes sense. So that's the full week of testing done. Let's go back to the table now for a full final conclusion. So just a little quick summary at the end. They're a really good daily driver. They're not a top-end super shoe that you're going to be doing races in and doing your top VO2 max intervals in, but for those daily cruising miles, absolutely spot on, perfect, superb grip, really comfortable, excellent value for money, and they're going to last a very, very long time. Again, getting back to comparisons, I put these side by side personally with something like the Evo SL or the Saucony Speed series. Very, very similar feeling shoes. These are maybe just a touch firmer, but yeah, it's a personal preference. So that summarises that. If there's anything you feel I've missed and you've got a pair of these that you'd like to add to this review, stick it in the comments. I've tried to be as thorough as I can, but if you think that I've missed something that you've discovered with these, whether you've found something quirky, a fit issue or anything, stick it in the comments. Let's all have a talk. Let's share his views on these shoes and see if we all agree and disagree about them. So that's it for now. Until next time, I'll see thee.